What's up, everybody? Today, we're talking about how to start strength training safely. So, most people tell me they don't think strength training is for them because they're afraid of getting injured and they don't feel like it's a safe activity. But when you do strength training and you do it properly, it's very safe. It's actually pretty safe when you compare it to things such as pickup basketball or tennis. Plus, the benefits of doing strength training can be life changing. So, let's talk about a few tips to start strength training safely. First tip, start easy and start light. Many people who ask me about starting strength training for the first time, they assume that it has to be as heavy as possible. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I always recommend starting with lightweight and focusing on technique first. And then over time, as you get used to the movements, you gradually start to increase the weight. You can also increase the reps that you do, or you can use more exercises in a given workout. So you could do a longer workout if that suits you. And while it should feel challenging for the amount of weight that you use, it doesn't have to be soul crushingly heavy. We just want to do enough that it's challenging, but also doable. So select a weight and a number of repetitions that feels appropriate for you, and then gradually increase this over time. There's a few ways you can actually adjust the intensity. So you could add more weight. Another way you could do this is add more repetitions. So let's say week 1, you did 8 reps of an exercise. Maybe week 2, you do 9 reps. You could change the speed or the tempo that you perform a movement. Let's say you're squatting, and when you go to the bottom, one way to make it more challenging would be to pause for a little bit longer at the bottom of the movement. Could be with a bench press or a shoulder press or a pull up, something like that. You could also change the amount of rest that you take in between sets. So I typically program in a workout 5 to 8 exercises. I don't like to go beyond 8 because it starts to take too long, and most of us are pretty busy, myself included. So sometimes I'll even start with as few as 2 exercises. This depends on the person. If you're more experienced, you can probably handle a longer workout, maybe a 45 or hour or an hour 10, hour 15-minute workout. But I've had people come in that are very new to exercise, and we start with a short 20, 30-minute session and mostly focus on just the technique and seeing how things feel. The next thing to look at with strength training and doing it safely is your training frequency. So if you're new to strength training, you don't have to do it every day. I would recommend doing it just 1 or 2 times per week, just to get used to it, get used to the routine and the feeling of strain, that muscular strain, that tension that you're putting on your body. And then over time, just like with adding weight, you can start to add more workouts per week. We're looking for a gradual increase in exposure. We don't want to go from 0 to 100. We want to go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2 gradually over time, so it's not a shock. When I try to teach when I do work with somebody who's new, I try to first get a sense of where they are right now and what their average amount of workload is, whether they exercise or not. So if someone comes to me and says, I don't exercise at all, that tells me that we're going to do a very different set of workouts in the beginning compared to someone who comes to me and says, I already train 2 or 3 times per week and I'm looking to go a little bit further. So what feels challenging but doable for each of those clients is going to look different. Although they're doing similar exercise patterns, they're probably both going to do a squat and or a lunge. They're probably going to do some kind of push or pull. The types of pushing and pulling or squatting and lunging or deadlifting variations that they'll have in their program may look a little different. The next point for strength training safely, the next tip here is ask for help. Most of us, this includes me, we don't like looking dumb. We don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. It's not a good feeling. So if you plan on trying out strength training or trying out a piece of equipment that you haven't done before or a brand new exercise, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. I find that most people, if you go into a gym, if you ask them for help, they are happy to give help. They're happy to help you out. It makes people feel like they're doing something helpful or they're being helpful. It's a good feeling. So don't be afraid to go up to somebody and ask, hey, I'm not sure if I'm setting this up correctly. Could you just double check that I'm doing this correctly? Or you could ask for help from a coach. You could hire a trainer. Make sure you're looking for someone that has quality education behind their services. They're not just running off of what they see on the internet, but they've taken courses, they've been to seminars, maybe they've done internships or they have an exercise science degree. These things can make it so they know what they're talking about as opposed to just making it up and then charging you a bunch of cash. The next point here is be patient. The results that come from strength training take time. Think months and years, not days or weeks. You need to be patient. The biggest thing here is you want to focus on showing up consistently. Many people show up and think, I have to worry about the intensity. How hard am I pushing? But that really doesn't give you enough time. With consistency, we're looking at showing up over a long period of time. That's where your body actually has time to adjust. And then it doesn't, as we said earlier, it doesn't shock your body as hard because you're gradually building up the stress that you're putting on your body. I recommend sticking with the same exercises for at least a few weeks. That way you get comfortable with them, you know how to perform the technique properly, and then you naturally will start to go a little bit heavier, do some more reps, or decrease your rest time, or change the tempo. Next tip here, make sure you check your ego. The human body has an incredible ability to adapt. And while this is an amazing feature, this is also a two-way street. If you stop doing physical things, your body will adapt to that. You'll have atrophy. If you add new physical things, your body will adapt to that. And this can happen whether you're younger or older. I've seen people who started training in their 70s or even started in their 80s, and they felt stronger in those later years than they had 10 years before because their body was able to adapt. Now, of course, you want to pair this with quality nutrition and sleep and managing your stress and just having a good plan that's not going to run you in the ground. But make sure you do go slow and be patient with yourself and not try to set a record or compare yourself to someone who's years ahead of you in terms of the time they put in, or compare yourself to where you used to be. If you used to do something in the gym, maybe when you were in high school or you used to play a sport, and now it's been a while, maybe you've moved on, now you're an adult and now you have a full-time career, maybe you have kids and you have all of these competing demands. Exercise maybe was put on the back burner for a while. Your body has adapted to that. And it's okay to start at a new chapter and go from where you are today. And there's nothing wrong with doing just that versus trying to say, well, I used to do this and that's where I have to start. Because that's where I see people usually get injured. They try and push themselves to a point that they were doing maybe a mile run in a certain amount of time years ago. And now they think they have to run that same distance at that pace, but their body has not stayed up with that and they need to dial it back temporarily. So make sure you check your ego, be patient with yourself. And last point here is balancing work and rest. We want to have quality workouts where we're pushing ourselves, not too little, not too much, finding that sweet spot. But at the same time, it's not just the workouts that get our body to adapt. It's pairing that with rest, with recovery, with food, eating regularly throughout the day, getting enough sleep, and making sure that the stress that we're giving our body from the workouts is not overwhelming us if we have a lot of life stress outside of that. The body can only take so much stress, so you need to balance those out because if there isn't enough time for recovery, your body's not going to adapt. If you found this helpful, leave a comment, click that like button. If you have questions about how to start strength training safely or you'd like to know more, please reach out, send me a message. You can head to my Instagram. It's at C_M_training. And thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day.